so that we can have a recording of the session. And Vanessa, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Vanessa Chmiel, and I'm the Instructional and Support Services Manager. I work with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council, but we are contracted through the Minnesota Department of Education with the Migrant Education Program to help provide services throughout the state of Minnesota. So we are just really excited to share the information. We just actually had a meeting yesterday with all of our summer programs and just talking about how important it is to really get the word out to administration so that school districts and teachers really know what this program is. We know that there's a lot of teachers out there that aren't aware of it. And so we just want to be those cheerleaders and those advocates for these kids and families to continue to support them. So I will, my colleague Noemi Treviño from the state is going to be hopping on, and she's going to do a majority of the presenting today, but until she hops on, I will get us started here with the presentation so we can stay on time.
Vanessa, are you okay if I share the slide deck in the chat with everyone as well?
Yeah, I think that that should be just fine.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, Zoom is like foreign to me, so I'm making sure I'm clicking all the right buttons here. Can you guys see my slideshow?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Here we go. I used to be a Google. I was a teacher for 7 years before this position, and all I did was Google. And now that I switch back and forth, I forget which buttons to push. So, all right. Well, I already introduced myself. And so this presentation is really all about Title I Part C and the education of migratory children. And so, like I said earlier, Noemi Treviño, she should be popping in here. I see Julie Chi is also on here, and she is also with the Migrant Education Program. So Julie, I don't know if you want to take a minute to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Julie Chi. I work with Noemi Treviño at the Minnesota Department of Education. I'm the English learner and migrant education program specialist and compliance monitor for the state. So I'm happy to help out too, Vanessa, if she's having technical difficulties or anything.
Sounds good. All right, so we always like to start with the 10 Minnesota commitments to equity. So today we are focused on starting from within. We're measuring what matters, going local, starting early by by doing this presentation. I have Noemi's calling me, so that's where my brain went. And getting the word out now, monitoring implementation of standards, and valuing people. All right. Our purpose today, we really have three main focuses for the presentation today, is to learn about the program, the Migrant Education Program, and its purposes, to learn about multiple resources that are available to you to help support the highly mobile migratory students and families that are in your school districts, and to learn about the reporting requirements of the Migrant Education Program. So when you leave the Zoom today, those are our big things we want you to take away. And the biggest ask, I would say, is that you just really are passing along the information to your staff. And we are happy to do training virtually like this. We offer it for free. So we're happy to do that. And if we're able to come to your school districts, we're also happy to do that as well. So keep that in mind going forward, because you're going to get a lot of information today. All right, we're going to start with a video. And as you're listening to this video, I just want you to have one takeaway. And while the video is playing, I'm going to go ahead and give Noemi a call quick back. So it's a pretty short video, and I just ask that you record one main takeaway. Let me know if you can't hear, because I know in Teams I have to click include sound, and I didn't have to do that here. So. Don't hear it? Okay.
There is an option to click for sound. I
On
think
here
it comes
too?
up on the right side.
Okay, I will get that taken care of. Trying to find where the
Probably have to
options
stop
are here.
sharing first and then reshare.
Yeah, I only see like the participants. I don't have all the other options right now. Is it like minimized everything? Oh, it's over here. Okay.
Do you see it now, Vanessa?
I see share and then, aha, computer audio, video. It would be computer audio, I would guess.
Yep.
Basic. How about now? No, you don't hear anything.
Yeah, then you have to reshare your screen.
Oh, I have to click share. But now it's quiet.
Well, we can't hear it, but we can see the
Caption.
closed captioning.
But you still don't hear it now? Like,
Nope.
okay. Huh.
I think it's okay though with the closed captioning.
Okay. Well, I'm really sorry, everybody. Like I said, Zoom is not my forte for this, so I'm not used to it. But I'll go ahead and play this, and then you can record one main takeaway, and then I do see Noemi is on here. So Noemi, I don't know, did you want to introduce? Oh, she looks like so we'll do the
I think
video.
she's
and I'll have her
having a little
introduce.
difficulty with her sound.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Did it switch screens, or do you need me to stop and reshare again?
We are back to your original screen.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, well, again, thank you for bearing with me through that technology. I know that wasn't the same. I'll go ahead and get that link out in the chat. So if you would like to actually hear the video, you're more than welcome to do that on your own time. But if you could record a takeaway in the chat, that would be great. And then I'm going to go ahead and let Noemi introduce herself. I'm glad that you were able to
Can you
get
hear me?
technology. Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for showing up, and thank you team for backing up. My name is Noemi Treviño, and I work at the Minnesota Department of Education in the Division of Student Access and Opportunity. I am the migrant education consultant and have been doing this for 24 years. So thank you again. And knowing that we have 45 minutes, we'll jump right in, I'm assuming. Let's keep going. So I don't know who has access to the PowerPoint, but the migrant education program has long been in existence since like 1966. And we abide by the legislative and authoritative references, as you can see on the screen, by the Code of Federal Regulations and Guidance and statutes. It is Title I, Part C. Moving forward. Again, this was enacted by Congress in 1966 with the purpose of reducing the unique challenges that migratory children experience. Because of their high mobility, they experience often cultural and language barriers and are often in very rural parts of our country. So experience social and community isolation, and as a result, experience various health-related problems, as in being over or under immunized. And because they are working in agriculture, many of them experience very low household incomes. That just compounds the stresses in what we expect students to learn in schools. So this was under President Johnson. This is 100% federally funded program. It is a supplemental program. This is supposed to be above and beyond what other programs offer. So Title I, Part C funds supplement what local, state, and other federal funds are supposed to be doing. And again, this is to ensure that migratory children have access to the same services that other children. So as educational leaders in your schools, we ask that you exhaust other resources, but tap into Title I, Part C funds to support and ensure that migratory children don't fall through the cracks. So we want to address the unique educational needs of our highly mobile migratory students. And we want to make sure that they overcome the educational disruptions because of their mobility by removing barriers that we can. A lot of our policies that we have practiced that can have a negative impact on our migratory students. And we also want to make sure that we do not penalize the students because of the different policies and regulations among different state educational systems, because migratory students crisscross our country and are in and out of multiple schools within one school year. We also want to ensure that migratory students receive full and appropriate opportunities to meet the ultimate goal of graduating with a high school diploma, so that they have options to either continue their education in higher ed or to get a good paying job. So the whole idea of supporting migratory students and families is to give them the tools necessary to be successful. That is the purpose.
And we keep referring to barriers. We will talk later in the presentation of exactly what those barriers are. I know that word keeps coming up, so just wanted to throw that out there too.
So you may be asking, well, who is considered a migratory child? There's a very unique criteria to determine if a student is eligible as a migratory child. And this is a child or a youth who is between birth and 21 years old or years of age, who has not graduated with a high school diploma, and who has moved across district or state lines within the last 36 months, whether it is to join or are themselves an agricultural worker. So agriculture has a very broad definition of what is considered eligible activities. But those are the three main elements that you have to be between 0 and 21, have not obtained a high school diploma, and have moved across district or state lines within the last 36 months, which is 3 years. So, what are the indicators in your intake process? As school administrators, what is your intake process? Does every student in your school get asked the question about, has your family lived in another school district in the last 3 years? And has anyone in your household worked in perhaps crops or livestock, forestry or fishing, or processing agricultural products? And we have resources available for schools that can use that during their intake process. So we have visuals for people who may be illiterate, but this should be a part of your process in figuring out potentially who may be eligible for the migrant program in your district.
I'll put in the chat, we actually have this indicator available to you in English and Spanish. So if it's something that your school district does not currently have in your intake process or your enrollment and registration process, and you're like, oh, I want that, but it's also the middle of August and I have 1 million things I'm doing right now, I can put the link to our website and you can access that and just get that put right in there. So.
So here is a QR code with a few questions and a survey of the registration material and the process that you can use. And the Minnesota Department of Education contracts with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council to conduct our statewide identification and recruitment of eligible migratory students. And you can complete a recruitment request to have one of our regional recruiters follow up. They also provide training for your migrant liaisons who should be identified at each school district. So if you go into MDE.org, you should identify who your migrant liaison is, i.e. such like your homeless liaison. It could be the front secretary, it could be the social worker, it could be a bilingual para, it could be the EL teacher, somebody who has connections with the students that are coming into your schools. But you can scan the QR code, and as Vanessa put in the chat, the link is available to access this form that you can adopt or adapt to your intake process.
Yeah, so just to clarify too, the QR code you're seeing is for the recruitment request that Noemi was talking about. And so it's not for the parent employment survey that can be found on our website in the link that I shared. And when you are having somebody fill out that recruitment request, which anybody can fill out a recruitment request, we just ask that you share with the family that you're planning to do that. Because like Noemi said, one of our recruiters will contact that family. And so if they don't know like where this is coming from and they're not expecting a call, like anybody, when your phone rings and it's an unknown number, you're like, who are you? How did you get my information? So we just ask that you make sure that whoever is doing that lets the family know ahead of time that they have filled one of those out so that it's not a surprise and we can have a good start to a relationship right from the bat. So that's just one thing we always like to mention as well. And I also would highly encourage you that you in your school district to kind of designate somebody to be the person that really fills these out. I know we recently had a school district reach out to us and say, hey, we have like 60 families that just did our intake process and they marked yes to those questions. What do we do next? And we love when school districts ask us that, and we love to help support. And so that's why I say it's a good idea to have a go-to person, and that probably would be the migrant liaison is my recommendation for that, just because it streamlines things for the district.
So you may be asking yourselves, why do migratory families come to Minnesota? Is it because of our beautiful weather in the summer? Perhaps. Or, we have blue skies and a lot of lakes. Well, the reality is many families move because of economic need. And Minnesota has a labor shortage in agriculture. And many of our agricultural markets are located along the I-90 in the meat and poultry processing, or along the Red River Valley with the sugar beets all the way up to the Moorhead, Crookston area. We also see a lot of corn and pea pack. We know that children feel safe in Minnesota schools, especially with the recent tragedy that we had in Uvalde in South Texas. We know that there's a lot of trauma that kids are carrying with them. So we know that it's important to have safe schools wherever children are at. And again, I think agribusinesses are very active in their recruitment efforts to get employees to work in their factories and their plants. And sometimes because they have friends and families who have come to Minnesota and have had good experiences. So it spreads, the word spreads like wildfire, like, hey, there are employment opportunities in Minnesota. And we all know that housing is always a challenge. In affordable housing is always a challenge across the country. But it seems to be exacerbated in rural areas across the state as well. But these are some of the reasons why families would come to Minnesota. So what are some of the type of work that people do is they could be picking rocks, working in our potato fields, like I had mentioned, corn and pea pack, meat and poultry processing. And so the one of the eligibility is that they're actually touching the raw product. So hands-on direct contact with agricultural products. So the vast majority of our students come from Texas, but we are seeing migration coming east to west, west to east, north to south, and even further north, or coming from further parts of southern Americas. As we see new Americans coming to Minnesota, we are having to ask the questions about why they moved and when they moved and what they're working in. But it is very important and critical to have open communication with sending school districts. And again, we have a strong working relationship with Texas because the vast majority do come from southern Texas, in Region 1 and Region 20, which is the Valley, the Texas Valley.
And I can give a real example that just recently happened, and to stress the importance of that relationship. And so in my position, I provide services to 0 to 21, but I have a big focus on those secondary with the credit accrual and recovery and acceleration students. And so we recently had a student who was here this summer from Texas, and the summer site, we have a database that we'll talk about later called M6, had accessed that. And as any database, it's only as good as what is the information that's entered, right? So there was some hiccups from Texas in this student's M6 profile. And so the summer site that they were at enrolled the student into an English course that they thought would be appropriate based on that data. And I have a really, really strong relationship with the Texas Migrant Interstate Program, the people that work there. And so we talk like every other day, and the individual called me up. She's like, "Hey, Vanessa, something is not right here. We need to look into it." And we realized that sure enough, that student should not be enrolled in English. They needed like world geography. And so luckily at that point, the student only had completed about 25%, and we were able to pivot and make some changes. But this happens all the time. And typically it's happening with election courses, or elective courses. So students will come here and teachers are like, they're only going to be here for 2 weeks. I don't know what to put them in. And they end up being in like a Phi-Ed course again, or an art course. And so it's just really, really important, because we don't want these students to get behind on graduation. And Texas has different graduation requirements than Minnesota. They're a little bit more strict in their graduation requirements with D's and passing and not accepting passing. It has to be a letter grade, all of that. So I just can't stress the importance of that enough.
So one of the questions I often get is, well, when do they typically come? And migratory families typically follow the agricultural cycle. You know, many of them arriving in February, in April, May, and leaving in October, November. So you see the ebb and flow kind of following the natural cycles of when ag growth, our short growing season, as we all know, our tomatoes are just now starting to ripen. Well, again, migrant families follow the crops and typically arrive in Minnesota. And these are the dates that we have for data that we have attained in 2022-23. But they typically tend to go back to Texas or their home base in October or November. So it's super important that we make sure that they're enrolled in school in September, even though they're going to be saying, hey, we're going to go back. That's still potentially 4 or 5 weeks of school that they should be here enrolled in Minnesota. And again, when they come back in the spring, in April and May, we need to make sure that they're enrolled in school as well, depending on when they arrive. But yes, that's super important.
Yeah, because if they're coming, especially April, if they didn't finish the school year in Texas, they come here and they don't enroll, they're not being awarded those credits in Texas, we realized, and families aren't aware of that. They don't realize that that's happening. And then here in the fall, they're continuing work. So I just also want to emphasize that going to like a normal school day time frame is not always feasible for these kids, because they need to work and help provide for their families. And so being open to other possibilities, we work a lot with Northern Star Online, but we're open to working with multiple online platforms and things. But Northern Star Online requires that the student enrolls through their resident district. And so you might get a call from me saying, hey, I have a student that wants to enroll in your district. However, they want to do NSO courses because they work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. until through October. So just a heads up with that too.
So what are some of the risks and challenges that migratory students encounter? We had mentioned a few about language and cultural barriers in rural Minnesota. It's real. Isolation and family separation. When you're gone for 6 months or 4.5 months, you can feel isolated, which impacts a lot of that social emotional challenges as they're adapting to new environments, new schools, new teachers, new classmates, new communities, new norms, not fitting in, wearing the right clothes, sounding different. Those are things that migratory students are navigating constantly when they move from place to place. The difficulty of performing at grade level due to their interrupted school, different curriculum, different teaching styles, it's so hard. And as Vanessa had mentioned, just the criteria or requirements for graduation in different states and even in different school districts about what courses you need to take when. One of the struggles that we are trying to prevent is the incorrect placement, especially of secondary students. It is super, super critical to make sure that they are placed in the right courses at the right time, because it is so discouraging if they're in a class that they're not going to gain credit for, or that they were placed in the wrong class completely. And so they work on stuff that doesn't apply towards graduation, which can be very discouraging for students. And we also know that there's frequent change in their residency, whether it's in Minnesota, Texas, Iowa, Michigan, and on and on and on, which can be, as a result, they're missing very valuable instructional and assessment time. And it causes high absenteeism. Again, being the new kid on the block is not easy. And moving before the school year ends or after it has started and being the new kid again. And sometimes even lack of access to resources, starting the school year off with the right supplies, or even coming in the middle of the school year and not knowing the process and procedures that different schools enact. So here's another population of students that are what we identify as out of school. These are typically the 16 to 21-year-olds who have perhaps dropped out of school or are not participating in school currently and have not obtained a high school diploma. We call these our out of school youth. Typically, they come with the goal to work. They're here to work, and they may travel alone or with extended families. These are most often young men, young adults, between 16 and 21-year-olds who come to work and maybe are 1 or 2 credits shy of obtaining a high school diploma. And you know that if you have a high school diploma, it will open up doors for possible further employment. Do you want to add anything, Vanessa?
I would just like to add a plug-in of being mindful of your adult basic education links and resources that are available on your school websites. I have a lot of individuals that are OSY that would like to consider getting their GED. And so my first step when I'm supporting them is to go to like the area they're living, go to that school's website, check out the adult basic education. And from what I've noticed, there are some districts that have a really smooth process. Like, this is who I contact, this is a phone number, this is the information. And other school districts seem to have nothing really available, and I have to do a lot of digging. So if it's been a while since you've had a chance to check that out, I would encourage you to take a peek at that and really be mindful of that, because there are a lot of out of school youth out there that we're trying to support, and it makes it really difficult when we don't have those resources available and we're trying to provide services to the whole state.
For sure. So again, are there migratory students in Minnesota who are not enrolling in schools? And what is your process? If you say yes, what is preventing students from enrolling? Is it because they don't understand the enrollment process or the truancy laws if their children are not enrolled? Is it that their students or their kids are not feeling welcome or being bullied? Is it because of their status, which in education we don't care, we don't ask about their immigration status? Is it because they think we're only going to be in Minnesota for a short period of time, so it's not necessary? Or do they feel that the work that they do in Minnesota won't count in their home-based schools? Or is it sometimes that the older siblings take care of younger siblings who are not in school yet? So there are many reasons perhaps that students are not enrolling in school, and we want to make sure that they are. And so having your social workers, your school counselors, your paras, your resource teachers be aware that there are multiple reasons, and what can we as school systems do to remove those barriers to ensure that children are enrolling in schools here in Minnesota. So again, Tri-Valley Opportunity Council, we are contracting, or we partner with them to determine eligibility and provide year-round recruitment. They also manage our database system and collect all the minimum data elements for each migratory student in the state of Minnesota. And that includes instructional and support services for students between birth to 21-year-olds. And they also provide and or offer referral services or resources to support families and districts and charter school staff. So the Tri-Valley Opportunity Team will do professional development at your local school district. If your principal or your administrator is interested in learning more about the migrant program, we are very eager and excited because we want to spread the word as far and wide as we can, because people often are not aware of this particular population. So that is super important that, as Vanessa had mentioned, the data we collect is the data that we share out. And all of this is about helping students obtain credits for graduation. Ultimately, that is what we want to make sure. And these children travel across the country. So we have very good communication with our counterparts across the country as well.
And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but Tri-Valley, we're office out of LeSueur. So I'm not sure, Dustin, Kevin, and Matt, if you want to maybe share in the chat, like which district you're with. But knowing the time of the year and how busy everything is, if you think that you would want some professional development, or you're planning for any early outs or things like that, feel free to let me know and I can get in touch. My supervisor is Chris Young, and she was who's supposed to be on today, but she's out this week. So we'd be happy to get in touch with you to set something up.
In Lakeville. Nice. So we have ballparking here about 1,500 migratory students who were identified across the state last year, with over 100 districts that have at least one migratory student enrolled in their school year, in their school district. So we know that we have identified more students than we're actually serving across the state. We have focused our energies predominantly during the summer migrant term, when we fund, in this past summer, 2024, we funded 7 locations and served approximately, give or take, and the data is still preliminary, about 500 to 550. So the opportunity for growth or room for improvement is there, but we need to identify who the kids are so we can provide the supplemental services that they may be eligible for. So we want to make sure that we have certified regional recruiters who are determining if the students are eligible. And Tri-Valley Opportunity Council, TVOC, has strong partnerships with other agencies that provide educational supplies, non-perishable foods, and other supplemental supports and resources available. So the migrant education program, and Vanessa is a key player in helping obtain transcripts to make sure that students, again, get placed in the appropriate classes, whether they're here in Minnesota or when they return to their home base, that they have the appropriate placement during enrollment time. They also partake in the Midwest Migrant Education Resource Center, which is a lending library that has a lot of resources.
Over 11,000.
A lot of resources that are really tangible, hands-on, interactive, manipulatives that are available and that are culturally appropriate, that are age appropriate, that are sensory, amazing resources. We've started a new program for mentoring our young middle school, high schoolers this year. And we also refer families for legal services or other services with our connections, and provide a lot of advocacy, as well as collecting our data and completing federal requirements that are reports that we have to submit using our MIS 2000, which is our state database, along with our National Migrant Student Information Exchange, or M6 database.
So really the purpose of this slide is because we threw a lot of things that we were asking you to do and ways that we're asking you to help. And so this slide is really to show you that we're a team here. We're not like here to say, oh, I got you, or oh, you need to be doing this. We're really trying to be partners and be collaborative with you. And so these are the different things that we're currently doing to help support on our end. I know that the sound isn't going to work, so I'm just gonna talk through these next two examples because I know what they say anyways, and it's just a voice clip. So for support services, our recruiters and myself, we offer, and the rest of my team really, we offer a lot of support services. So there's support services and there's instructional services. And so in this example, one of our recruiters had encountered a family who had seen our flyer in like their local Mexican store, and they decided to call our 1-800 number. And then from that phone call, one of our recruiters was able to fill out a recruitment request, determine eligibility. We provided some food boxes from every meal to them. They helped get them to an appointment. They did not have a job at the time, and so that recruiter reached out to an employer and helped get that person a job. And so there were multiple services support services that the recruiter was able to provide. And in the end, the individual was just so happy that they had called their 1-800 number and taken a chance, and it worked out really, really good. And those are things that our recruiters are doing on the daily. Like when we say referrals, we don't just mean like, oh, here's the number to your local food shelf. It's like, here, okay, oh, you need help getting dental. Okay, let me help you find different dental clinics in your area. And a lot of times there's a language barrier, so supporting with that, but also trying to be mindful that we're not there to do everything, and we want to empower these families so that they know in the future how to support themselves without us just doing it all for them. So there's that fine line of supporting, right, and empowering, and then just doing. And then in the next example, services, this is actually an example about something I did, but I'll just kind of speak to different examples of services instructionally. And so Noemi, I already shared like looking into the transcripts and realizing just some inconsistencies there. This summer, I've spent a lot of time obtaining transcripts from Texas and helping our secondary lead teachers correctly place those students, and working with Northern Star Online and making sure that students are on track to graduate and really being that cheerleader and encouraging and empowering them. We've had quite a few students this summer that have either done credit accrual, credit recovery, or even credit acceleration, which is great to see because then they're one step ahead when they're getting to Texas. A lot of things on my end are advocacy. There is a lot of disconnect between families and school districts and how things are communicated. And I just want to, this is where like I like to slide in my little spiel. I was a fourth grade teacher for 7 years. I had never heard about the migrant education program once, and I know where I taught at. And I definitely had students that were migratory coming into my classroom, and I remember feeling so defeated, not knowing what to do. I remember asking like, what do I do? And they would just like show up one day and there was no support. And when I asked like, what do I do for this kid? They don't speak any English. Like there just really was no guidance. And so I like to put that plug in. If your teachers, if you're sitting there and you're like, and you're asking yourself, do my teachers know what this program is? And the answer is no. They have to know. They have to know this exists, and so that they have somebody that they can reach out to and get some support, because I'm also still really good friends with a lot of teachers, and I'm constantly talking about the program. And they're like, I didn't even know that existed. Like, what? So that's just my plug, because it is really important, and there's so much out there, and we're really willing to do whatever it takes. It's just we really need more voices out there, because we're only so many people. Oops, these are just pictures.
They are pictures, but it also describes a very, very strong collaboration that we have with Tri-Valley Migrant and Seasonal Head Starts. We see the family as a unit from birth to the high school, college pipeline. And, you know, when we invest in our young infants and toddlers and have a good foundation, it's a great springboard for success in the K-12 system as well. So that is our collaboration with our Tri-Valley Migrant and Seasonal Head Start programs. I had mentioned summer migrant programs typically operate during the months of June, July, and August.
I can speak to this if you want, Noemi.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Merck used to be run by Hamlin University for years and years and years, and the wonderful ladies that had done that retired, and so Tri-Valley within the last couple of years has taken that over. As Noemi mentioned earlier, Merck stands for Midwest Migrant Education Resource Center, and it is for any educator, anybody that works with at least one eligible migratory student. So even if they have let's say an ESL teacher has a small group and only one of those students is an eligible migratory student, they can still utilize the resources with all the kids. Same with a classroom teacher or a special education teacher. They're just, because of the way that the funding works with it being federal and Title I-C monies, there has to be at least one eligible migratory student. So the process, you go onto our website and you search a catalog, you compile a list of different resources you would like, and there's a quick and easy Google form to fill out. We receive, hey, there was an order placed. We get those materials together. We ship them out to that educator free of charge. We provide a return label as well. And then that educator is able to keep those materials for 5 weeks. And then you just ship them back with the return label that was provided. If educators need materials longer than 5 weeks, we're happy, as long as no one else is waiting for them, to make that accommodation. And so there are over 11,000 materials within Merck, and anything from games and educational resource kits. And I've been working this summer, especially with science and the new Minnesota science standards, to try to revamp those kits and kind of organize them according to like physical science, earth and space science, just the way that the standards are laid out, to make that a little bit more at ease for teachers. We also have a monthly Merck that we send out. So if you would like to be on that mailing list, it's once a month that just gives information. It's also really good for teachers. So if you have any teachers in mind that you would want that sent out to, let us know. We can add them to our mailing list. We will not spam people from Merck. That's not what we're about. I already spoke to this. These are some different other ideas. Lego kits. We have a ton of Lego kits, interactive math and reading kits, educational games, hands-on learning kits, varied levels of books, bilingual books. Social emotional kits have been really huge. I know what a big change and jump that has been in the classroom lately is really incorporating that social emotional learning. So that's been a huge baby of mine in Merck. And then we also have like an AI translator to help support that in the classroom as well. I can put the link for Merck in the chat for you, so that's just easy to grab too.
Definitely want to promote and encourage the professional development opportunities that we offer. Making Connections workshops are offered throughout the year, once a month. And you can also check on the MDE.org on the calendar, the same way you do for Title Tuesdays, and as well as scan this QR code. These are opportunities for your staff to get an overview of Migrant Ed. It's a lot of details, a lot of information. So you want to make sure you have staff aware of the migrant program and make those connections. Again, I encourage you to reach out to us so that we can do on-site PD and or have your staff participate in this virtual 2-hour Making Connections workshops. Thank you, Matt, and everyone who's been on. Now we have, Matt is from where? Lakeville?
Yeah, Lakeville, south side of Dakota County. Rice County's right there. So when you said Le Sueur, I'm like, we're close.
Right, right. So are you familiar
sort
with
of
the
sense.
type of ag work that's in your area, in the Lakeville area?
Yep, corn, soybean, and then there's some livestock and then some poultry work as well. But that's less dense over here. It's just a lot more ag as opposed to livestock.
Sure. Well, we'd be happy to learn more about Lakeview. I mean, Lakeville, you're just what, right on 35 going south from the
Yeah,
metro?
yep. And it has predominantly been a very upper crust Caucasian community.
It has.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it's changing quickly, and I think it's great. So we're building out a lot of systems, and resources like this will be huge as people go like, "Hey,
Hmm.
my classroom looks different than it did 10 years ago. What tools are there? This is
Abs-
incredible."
Absolutely. If anything, I ask, if you leave with anything, is being proactive, have us come out, raise awareness. That's half the battle. As Vanessa was saying, teachers don't know what they don't know. We're too busy in our classroom taking attendance and making sure Johnny isn't poking Susie with the pencil. I mean, but we need to have just people be aware that migratory students are coming, and new Americans and multilingual learners, and they kind of overlap. Students might be experiencing homelessness and stuff. So again, I know you got to go to another meeting, but I appreciate you coming and just letting us know. And we reach out and touch someone, call us. We are here to serve and to be a support.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. This is sick. This is really good work. I appreciate this.
Thank you, Matt. All right. So again, as we were saying, we are here to. Oh, Kevin, now tell me you're not leaving me too, unless you're going.
No, I'm still here. I'll be honest. I'm learning as we go. I'm new to East Grand Forks, and so I came from International Falls, which I'm going to say I don't think we did have Migrant, but over here I think I'm on a different platform, so I'm learning.
Absolutely. East Grand Forks used to have a program back in the mid 1990s. East Grand Forks had a very significant population because you guys have the potato farms over there.
Potato and beet, yes.
Potato and beets, yes. So they're still coming, not as high concentration as there once was, but that just means we need to be more in tune with our agribusinesses, ag farmers that are out there, that at least with the hauling of the sugar beets, it's still very prevalent up there in the Red River Valley.
Yeah. So like I said, I can't even speak really of what we do or don't have going and how many. I know the numbers have declined, like you spoke. I'm aware of that, but it's more getting my mind educated and seeing where we need to go as we meet administration wise.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled that you're here, Kevin. We're here again to provide support and technical services and offer resources to the migrant program and adhere to federal programs. So just your inquiry says a lot. And as you talk with your counterparts saying, did you guys know about this program? Helping spread the word is what we're asking of you and your
Yep,
staff.
perfect. No, and I meet with some regional soups next Monday for breakfast, and we'll throw it around and see, Crookston and different ones to see, if they use the resource, don't, whatever.
And you know what? If you guys meet on a quarterly basis, casually, we would be happy to join you in that conversation as well. So
Okay.
I'm inviting myself to your breakfast meeting.
Yep, perfect.
So
We will definitely stay in touch.
go ahead and advance the slide, Vanessa. Yeah, so this is some more logistical stuff. There are some reports that you can access on MDE.org that are secured reports, but it also serves as a springboard to determine if you potentially have migrant eligible in your local district. So site verification coordinator would be aware of that, or, you will have access to this PowerPoint presentation in the data center. Yeah. And if you have not identified a local designated migrant liaison, you'll definitely want to make sure you do that and make sure that it's current and up to date. Because we know that there's a lot of mobility and transition, even at the school districts with, as you had mentioned, International Falls, and now you're in East Grand Forks. So there's a lot of transition at our schools. And we do use this directory as our point of contact when we discover or identify families, that's who we connect with, that liaison.
I can tell you right now too, Kevin, I just pulled up the MDE district migrant contact list, and East Grand Forks does not have anybody currently listed.
Okay, we will work on that.
Yeah. And once you have that person on board, these are some of the things that they would be doing. And we can provide some more technical support once you do that. And I would even like to challenge you to have that person in place before school starts or very early into the school year. The way you do with your DAC coordinator, you know who these people are. So we want to make sure that we have the migrant liaison as well. So we have a national database called M6, and this allows for states to share educational information. It also includes health information on migratory students to make sure that they have appropriate placement, that they gain credits for graduation. The information is only as good as the information that's obtained. And so the question is, who has access to M6 in your district? So can your migrant liaison, your counselors, you as the administrator, this application needs to be completed because it is a secure website. And Linda Fournier is our state administrator. So there's no shame. If you forget your password, she can help reset it and help you through that process. Linda Fournier at trivalley.org.
She's also the one that takes the application intake too, and that can be found on our website as well.
During the school year, we have what we call our Migrant Student Information Form, or our MSIF. It is also an Excel spreadsheet where we collect the minimum data elements for every migratory child in the state of Minnesota. We have a comparable program or a comparable reporting form called our Summer Program Services Report, which also collects minimum data elements and instructional and support services that students receive during the school year and during the summer. So these two forms are data collection, live reporting using secured formats, because it has personally identifiable information. And so we want to make sure it's encrypted and we're not just sending stuff over the internet. Here's an example with made up information, but name, address, phone number, social security, not social security, but date of birth, qualifying arrival date, etc. So here's so our MSIF, we have monthly 30-minute workshops, and you can join us every third Thursday from 3 to 3:30. The link is on the MDE calendar. So you do not have to register for it, but you go in and it's very quaint and it's very user directed. So if you have a question, you get that answered. It's not like this is the set agenda. Vanessa?
And we do need to update this slide because there has been a change in time. So it's actually going to start at 3:15 and they're going to end at 3:45 this next year. Trying to be more mindful of because teachers were having to leave. And so they're trying something new. So just a heads up, it will be 3:15 to 3:45.
All right, we'll just skip this part. But here are some links and resources that when you get the PowerPoint, it has the MDE calendar, the liaisons, the security report, all in one space. Resources to our the SMERLS, Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, the Education of Migratory Students video, if you want to use it for your welcome back to school staff, that would be something to use with your school. We have migratory stories and some video YouTube clips that you can use for your own PD with your staff, and some resources and calendars that you have. Again, Tri-Valley, helpful. You can read it yourself. And if you need an attendance form, or we would like your feedback, Kevin. You're our one and only attendee right now. So like, what would be helpful to you and your counterparts to make it useful information? So you can click on that link. I don't know how that works until they get it, until they have access to it.
I put them both in the chat, Noemi.
Oh, see, younger people are so quick with this stuff. Thank you. Also, just an FYI, you should have this on your favorite 1-800 number. Migratory students come at odd hours, day and night, evenings, weekends, but here's a program hotline that you can call. And we, again, Tri-Valley has a very active Facebook page, and they do access their website often. They seem to pivot faster than the Department of Education is able to, but we partner very, very tightly with Tri-Valley and appreciate their collaboration in our efforts to serve migratory students and families. So this is the amazing Tri-Valley team that has the deputy director, the services manager, data systems manager, instructional and support services manager, and key players who help with data coordination, and our awesome team of recruiters, regional recruiters spread throughout the state, and support service staff that help the wheel go round, because it takes all, as you are well aware of. And we just want to thank you and appreciate you and wish you well as you start the 24-25 school year and everything that it entails.
Thank you very much. Very informative, and you're right, a lot to take in, but we will be better for it and grow, and I'm sure I have some questions.
Feel free to reach out.
When is the first day of school, Kevin?
Was it the 3rd or the 4th? The 3rd, September 3rd. So
When's your last day of school?
What's that?
When's your last day of school?
The 30th of May.
Wow. Okay. So you're going to the end. All right.
Yeah. So, I just don't have those. We're in and going every day, so I don't have the dates memorized. It's just, I know the building's getting busier and busier.
It is. Well, again, we wish you well, and please don't hesitate to call us during your highs and lows if there's ever any low, because we know once school starts, it's always on the fast track.
Yes.
But we're here to support you in any which way we can.
Okay. And will we get the slide deck? I mean, to go back through and look, I mean, is that possible?
I shared the slide deck with you at the beginning, Kevin, but I'll add it right now. There we go. Do you see it there in the chat?
Yeah, I'm just looking to make sure I get here. Yep, I got it, and I'm going to copy here. And thank you.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming and for persevering with our technical challenges today. I think it was really informative, and I wish we'd had more people able to stay till the end, but we will share this recording because we had about 15 people registered. So I know things come up and people will go back and look at the recording.
We definitely are willing to do it again. And I appreciate, Kevin, you coming on camera. It's this interactive that really adds value to us. So
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, and appreciate it. And
thank you.
Right.
You too.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.